The sun had barely risen over the wide plains of rural Montana when Jack Miller pushed open the heavy barn door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the familiar scent of hay, wood, and animals. Jack had followed this same routine for years: feed the horses, check the hayloft, then head back to the house for coffee. Life on the ranch was quiet, predictable, and lonely, but that was how he had learned to survive after losing his wife. He climbed the wooden ladder to the hayloft, boots creaking with each step. Dust floated through the pale morning light that streamed in through the cracks in the old barn walls. As he reached the top, Jack stopped suddenly. His heart skipped a beat. Someone was there. In the far corner, partially hidden behind stacked hay bales, lay a young woman. She was curled on her side, her arms wrapped protectively around a small baby. Her coat was thin, her shoes worn, and her face pale with exhaustion. The baby shifted slightly, making a soft sound that echoed loudly in the silent loft. Jack's first instinct was fear. This was his property. A stranger had broken in during the night. His hand tightened into a fist as his mind jumped to the obvious solution: call the sheriff. That was what anyone else would do. That was the sensible thing. But as he stood there watching them, something felt different. The woman didn't look dangerous. She looked tired, beyond tired. Her hair was tangled, her face drawn with worry even in sleep. The baby's tiny fingers clutched her coat, as if afraid she might disappear. Jack noticed how her body curved around the child, shielding him from the cold hay beneath them. A memory surfaced uninvited: his wife Sarah, rocking their newborn niece years ago, whispering that no one ended up desperate by choice. Jack slowly stepped back, careful not to make a sound. He climbed down the ladder, his thoughts tangled. If he called the sheriff, the woman would be questioned, maybe arrested, and the baby taken away. He imagined the fear in her eyes if she woke to flashing lights and hard voices. Instead, he walked toward the farmhouse. Inside the quiet kitchen, Jack lit the stove and stood there for a moment, staring at the empty room. He sighed deeply, then reached for the eggs, bread, and milk. He cooked slowly, deliberately, as if giving himself time to think. He warmed the milk carefully, remembering how fragile babies could be. Balancing a small tray in his hands, Jack returned to the barn. His steps were steady now. When he climbed the ladder again, the woman stirred. Her eyes snapped open, wide with panic. She pulled the baby closer, ready to run. Jack stopped a few feet away and gently raised his hands. "I'm not calling anyone," he said softly. "I just brought breakfast." The woman stared at him, disbelief written across her face. For a long moment, neither of them moved, two strangers suspended between fear and kindness in a dusty hayloft, about to change each other's lives forever. The woman did not immediately reach for the food. Her arms tightened around the baby as if she expected Jack to change his mind at any second. Her eyes flicked toward the ladder, then back to him, measuring the distance, searching for danger. Jack could see fear etched deep into her face, the kind that didn't fade easily. "It's okay," Jack said again, keeping his voice low and calm. He slowly set the tray down on a nearby hay bale and took a step back. "You can eat. I'll stay right here." The baby stirred, letting out a soft cry. The sound cut through the tension. The woman glanced down at the child, then back at the tray. Hunger finally won. She reached out with trembling hands and took the bread first, breaking off a small piece. As she ate, tears slipped silently down her cheeks. "My name's Emily," she said after a moment, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is Noah." Jack nodded. "I'm Jack. You're safe here, for now." Those words seemed to loosen something inside her. Emily fed Noah the warm milk, holding him close while Jack turned slightly away, giving her what little privacy he could in a hayloft. The morning sun climbed higher, warming the cold air, and the barn slowly came to life with distant animal sounds. When Noah settled, Emily finally spoke. She told Jack how she had left Wyoming weeks earlier with nothing but a diaper bag and a few dollars. She didn't go into details at first, only saying she had to leave fast and couldn't go back. Every town felt dangerous. Every knock on a door felt like a risk. When she saw the open barn late last night, she had taken her chance. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," she said, her shoulders slumping. "I'll leave as soon as I can." Jack listened without interrupting. He leaned against a wooden beam, arms crossed, his face thoughtful. He had heard plenty of stories in his life, some true, some not, but this one didn't feel like a lie. He recognized the weight in her voice, the careful way she chose her words. "You won't find much trouble here," he finally said. "But you won't survive long sleeping in a hayloft either. Nights get colder." Emily looked at him sharply. "I don't want charity." "It's not charity," Jack replied. "It's a roof and a meal. That's all." He offered her the spare bedroom in the farmhouse, explaining it had been empty for years. As soon as the words left his mouth, he felt a tightness in his chest. That room had belonged to his wife's sister during her visits long ago. Letting someone new into that space felt like opening an old wound. Emily hesitated. She glanced around the barn, then down at Noah. The baby yawned, unaware of the decision being made for him. "I'll stay one night," she said carefully. "Just one." Jack nodded. "That's enough." He helped her down the ladder, carrying the diaper bag while she held Noah. As they walked toward the farmhouse, Emily stayed a few steps behind him, still cautious, still unsure. Jack felt the strange weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had chosen kindness over caution. And deep down, he sensed that this choice, made on an ordinary morning, was about to change the quiet rhythm of his lonely ranch in ways he never expected. Life on the ranch slowly adjusted to Emily and Noah's presence. The first night passed quietly, with Emily sleeping lightly in the spare bedroom, waking at every small sound. Jack stayed in his own room, giving her space, listening to the familiar creaks of the old farmhouse and the distant wind moving across the fields. For the first time in years, the house did not feel completely empty. The next morning, Emily insisted on helping with breakfast. She moved carefully around the kitchen, still unsure of her place, but grateful. Noah sat in a borrowed cradle near the table, watching everything with wide, curious eyes. Jack noticed how Emily smiled at her baby, softly, protectively, yet there was sadness behind it, as if she were always waiting for something to go wrong. After breakfast, Jack showed her around the ranch. He kept things simple, explaining where the water pump was, which animals to avoid, and how to stay warm. Emily listened closely, absorbing every detail. She did not ask many questions, but Jack could tell she was used to relying only on herself. As the days passed, Emily began helping more. She washed dishes, folded laundry, and swept the porch without being asked. When Jack worked outside, she watched from the window, sometimes stepping out with Noah bundled against her chest. The fresh air seemed to calm both of them. Noah slept better, and Emily's tense posture slowly eased. One afternoon, while Jack repaired a fence, Emily finally spoke about her past. She told him about the man she had trusted, how control had turned into cruelty, and how leaving had been the hardest and bravest thing she had ever done. She spoke without drama, her eyes fixed on the ground, her voice steady but heavy. Jack felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his expression calm. "You did the right thing," he said simply. No one had said that to her before. Emily swallowed hard, nodding as if the words mattered more than she wanted to admit. That evening, a sheriff's patrol car drove slowly past the ranch road. Emily saw it from the window and froze. Her breath caught, and fear rushed back into her eyes. Jack noticed immediately. "They're not here for you," he said firmly. "I get random checks out here sometimes. You're my guest." When the car disappeared down the road, Emily finally relaxed. She realized then that Jack wasn't just offering shelter, he was offering protection without control, safety without demands. Weeks passed. The ranch began to feel like a routine instead of a hiding place. Emily laughed more. She sang softly to Noah while hanging laundry. Jack caught himself listening to that sound, surprised by how much it warmed the quiet air around him. One night, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Emily spoke softly. "You didn't have to help us." Jack stared out at the open land, thinking of the morning he found her in the hayloft. "Sometimes," he said, "doing nothing feels worse than taking a risk." Emily nodded, holding Noah close. In that moment, both of them understood that what had started as a temporary kindness was turning into something neither of them was ready to name, but neither wanted to lose. Autumn settled over the Montana plains, painting the land in shades of gold and rust. The ranch felt different now, alive in ways Jack hadn't felt since his wife passed away. Emily and Noah had become part of the rhythm of the place, not as guests but as family. Morning laughter replaced silence, and small toys now rested on the porch beside dusty work boots. Emily no longer flinched at every passing car. She had begun planning a future instead of simply surviving each day. With Jack's encouragement, she started taking online classes at night, hoping to build a stable life for Noah. Jack never pushed, never asked for anything in return. He simply supported her choices, quietly proud of her strength. One afternoon, the sheriff pulled into the driveway unexpectedly. Emily's heart raced as she saw the uniform step out of the car. Old fears rushed back, sharp and sudden. Jack noticed immediately and placed himself between her and the door without hesitation. The sheriff tipped his hat. "Just checking in, Jack. Heard you might have company." Jack nodded calmly. "Yes, sir. She and her child are staying here. They're safe." The sheriff studied Emily for a long moment, then looked down at Noah, who gurgled happily. Something in the man's expression softened. "Looks like you're doing right by them," he said. "Let me know if you need anything." With that, he turned and drove away. Emily's knees nearly gave out. Jack caught her arm, steadying her. "He believed you," she whispered. "No," Jack replied. "He trusted me." That night, Emily realized something important. Jack had never treated her like a burden or a problem to be solved. He had treated her like a person worthy of respect. Trust, she learned, could be just as powerful as love. As winter approached, Jack asked Emily to stay, not as a favor but as a choice. He told her the ranch could be a permanent home if she wanted it to be. Emily took time to think, walking the fields, holding Noah, imagining a life where she didn't have to run. She said yes. On a quiet winter evening, as snow began to fall, Emily and Jack sat by the fireplace. Noah slept peacefully between them. Their hands brushed, and neither pulled away. There was no rush, no dramatic confession, just a shared understanding built on months of patience and kindness. What had begun in a dusty hayloft with fear and uncertainty ended in a warm home filled with trust and second chances. Jack hadn't brought the sheriff that morning because he chose compassion over judgment. Emily hadn't found just shelter on the ranch, she found safety, dignity, and the courage to believe in a future again. And in the wide, silent plains of Montana, two broken lives slowly became whole, not through grand promises but through everyday acts of quiet love.